press the white arrow, then that yellow circle, and repost the live, please. Thank you. Asking everyone to repost the live at this time.
Yeah, I see Miss Justice saying it's by neighbor because I hate YouTube. And other people are asking, how do we get over there? I'm amazed. Tell me how. I love this way. Yeah. I think the TikTok space is pretty user friendly, and a lot of people like it. I like it too, but it is what it is, eh?
Well, Miss Justice is telling us bye, neighbor. Okay.
What do you mean bye? She not coming? She not coming with us?
She said she hates YouTube.
Oh, she hates YouTube. Oh, well. I don't particularly like TikTok. I come here and I don't scroll TikTok, you know. I must tell you the truth. I don't really like the content that TikTok has. Well, sorry, let me push up my screen here. All right, let me push this up. There you go. Okay, all right. Well, we'll work this through. All right, everybody. Thank you so much.
Of course. Guys, remember to repost the live. Thank you. Have a great show, neighbor.
Thank you too. Thank you, my YouTubers. Thank you so much. Please remember to subscribe to the channel. Please remember to like the channel. Please remember to support the channel. The telephone number is across your screen, and of course other ways that you can support the Hello Neighbor show. We'll be live over here on Monday, and we hope to take you with us. We want to use this weekend to see if we can take our subscription up to 1,000. We are about 780 or something like that, which is fantastic. But we want to take that up to 1,000 by Monday. All right. So before I came on air, I saw a memorandum that our JR is having problems paying their staff. So what is happening? What is happening down there at Linners Road? We are writing to inform you that due to unexpected processing delays, this month's payroll has been impacted and will not be completed on the usual schedule. Can you imagine? Today is the 24th of the month, and our GR workers are going home without pay. What can go so? Yeah, GR, you can't send home your employees without pay. That not sound good. I mean, you couldn't give them half of it, or boy, I tell you something. This is interesting, you know. This is very, very interesting. What is happening down at RGR? Anyway, we hope that they will resolve their issues so that the staff will be able to be paid. And I also hope that the staff will not protest. The RGR is saying that you'll get your pay by Wednesday. So you have to do without your pay for the weekend here. And you'll have to do without your pay Monday and Tuesday. Our payroll, finance, and IT teams have been working diligently to resolve the issue. And we appreciate your patience throughout this process. We understand the importance of timely payments and sincerely apologize for any inconvenience caused. You wanted to go and buy 2 pieces of chicken this evening here, and you work with RGR. Boy, rough. I wonder if this is the real story. I wonder if this matter of processing delay is a smokescreen. Is that the real story at RGR? Why the workers can't be paid? I'm sure that we'll find that out soon because information is leaking out. As a matter of fact, someone pushed something under my door saying that this has been happening for quite some time. Is it true? Is it true that ever so often, all of a sudden, RGR having technical problems? That's what I heard. I heard that it is always technical problems there. Is RGR having a cash flow problem? Are they in financial difficulties? Hookups. You know, I see the Gleaner, Edmund Campbell, talking about the NaRRA bill was shredded. You know. Anyway, let's leave RGR alone for the moment. And let me put something to you. Opposition or obstruction? Shafreen, note that. Opposition or obstruction. So I have 2 pieces of notes for you tonight. Remember, we close at 10 o'clock. The last election was in September. Count with me. October, November, December, January, February, March. 6 months. It's been 6 months since the last election. And it feels as if we're still in a campaign. Does it feel like that to you, listeners? That you are in a campaign? It's been 6 months since the election loss. And it appears as if the People's National Party, they have not yet transitioned from campaigning to opposition. It's a psychological refusal to accept the electoral defeat. And so instead of adopting a, conciliatory posture, the opposition led by Mr. Golding, they have been combative. Prioritizing partisan point scoring over policy alternatives. I linked this to NaRRA for you, don't worry. And the failure, you see, is very acute, because the National Disaster Recovery Project, where Jamaicans require a constructive opposition as a kind of co-author of the national project. By the way, I hope you understand that we are witnessing history. Our children and ourselves are witnessing history. History is being written in Jamaica. This is our moment. This is our moment, Jamaicans. Jamaicans, you have suffered long and hard. You have waited. And you know, crises really opens opportunities, you know. Have you ever had a broken heart? Have you ever suffered a loss? Your girlfriend left you? Well, sometimes that can be a blessing, you know. It can be a blessing. Because you never know that you could bounce back. Look at you now. Look at you now. Crises really come with opportunities. And we have an opportunity here. Melissa is giving us a fantastic opportunity to rebuild. But as far as the opposition is concerned, it's been 6 months of performative resistance. I've never seen it like this in Jamaica. I've never seen this type of performative resistance, particularly on NaRRA. I didn't get the time today to research the opposition's posture after Ivan, and I want to do that. If my team could help me with that research, I'd be happy for it. How did the Jamaica Labour Party respond during Ivan when PJ Partisan was Prime Minister? We need to do that research and make the comparison, because I've never seen this type of performative resistance, and what it has done is weakened the claim of the opposition to be an alternative government, and it has left the country without bipartisan execution, which is so very much needed in this post-Melissa rebuilding. And so many people are asking tonight, is it opposition or obstruction? Is it obstruction, or do we have an opposition? The comrades are already joined near, and I appreciate that. 6 months of campaigning, not governing. And I'm going to give you the main failures of the People's National Party in opposition. I'm going to give you them tonight. I hope I'll have time to get to NaRRA. I'm not staying here beyond 10 o'clock because it's a Friday night and I am booked to be at a hot party at 20 minutes after 10. Okay? Yeah. Friday Frolic. I'll be at Friday Frolic at 10:30 in Portmore. Wow. You know, I wonder if Jamaica debates. Is Jamaica debates? Is Charmaine, you're coming with me to the Friday Frolic? We're gonna frolic at Friday on the beach over Hillshire, night beach. Frolic in your Friday. Corny Barrett. Okay, wow. I'm going to give you the put a smile on your face, man, and take off the stress. The first failure is the failure to accept electoral reality. And having accepted the electoral reality, it gives you a reset of your strategic doctrine. Now, they have what is called in psychology denial. Now, like say, and denial is a coping mechanism. So if you suffer loss, the immediate response is you deny it, because that moment of denial gives you time to recalibrate and to accept the reality. So if someone calls you and said to you, you know, your house burned down, you may faint, you panic. And so what the body does, it helps you to accept the reality without falling out. But you can't live in denial. You can't live in denial. And those of you who are suffer loss, if your man left you, your man left you. If your woman gone, she just gone. After a time, you have to pick yourself up and say, this is my reality. I have to deal with it. Never wanted it to happen, but it is what it is. And I suspect that one of the problems with Mr. Golden is that Mr. Golden is still in denial. Psychological denial that they lost the 2025 general election. And that is the first failure of the opposition. You remember I told you the other night that that George Bush left a note in the Oval Office for Bill Clinton. I'm rooting for you. It was a brutal campaign, but you won. You notice that Mr. Golden did not stand at the inauguration ceremony of the Prime Minister. Didn't stand up tall. In other words, I should have been up there. That is the first failure. And I call upon Mr. Golden and the opposition tonight to call a press conference and concede again the election. Just tell Jamaica, we lost the election. Tell it to your supporters. You know that Perry, just this week, a piece of video was circulating where they were calling Mr. Golden the Prime Minister. And Mr. Golden appeared on Perry Cummings' program, The Perspective. And Perry was referring to him as the Prime Minister. And Mr. Golden did not correct Mr. Perry and said, well, Mr. Perry, we hope to have won the election, but we didn't win. The Andrew Holness won the election and the Jamaica Labour Party, and we congratulate them. We hope we'll have better luck next time. I haven't seen that at all. That is a failure of leadership. That is a failure of democratic leadership. In a democracy where one party have to win and one have to lose, because that's why we have 63 seats. Can't tie. All right? First failure is to accept electoral reality so that you can reset your strategic doctrine. You notice that Mr. Golden came to the parliament with the manifesto. Tells you something, as if they are governing. The same manifesto that they had for the September election is the manifesto that Mr. Golden pick up and carry come at the parliament theme budget presentation. Notwithstanding that the country suffered a 53% loss of its GDP with 5 parishes, 150,000 homes either destroyed completely or partially. What is your manifesto? How useful is that at this time? The foundational failure of the opposition is that it has not internalized the loss, and probably their friends up at the university need to bring them in for some counseling. Sit them down, cry if you must, bawl if you must, but you have to accept that you lost. If you don't accept that you lost, you can't move forward to become an effective opposition. So right now, we don't have an opposition. We don't. What we have is a party campaigning for an election. And there is a great imbalance in the democracy because of this. I want you to understand that, because it is psychological. We don't right now have an opposition. They are operating like when Parliament was dissolved. And there is no government. They're in campaign mode. If the country is going to settle down over the next 4 years, the opposition must come out and admit loss. You can't go to Parliament and talk about the 401,000 people that voted for you and you're solid like a rock, beating up your chest about your electoral position in the Parliament. Wrong. That's why we're seeing in Parliament. The Parliament is reading like a continuation of the campaign, not a recalibration to the role of opposition, but they're still on the campaign trail. And what the opposition ought to do is to audit why they were rejected. Because to move forward, to advance in life, you have to assess why you are where you are. What make your man left you? What make your woman left you? If you don't sit down and answer those questions, then the next one come will leave you too. Because it means that you're not change. And after 3 electoral loss, we need an audit of the party. We need an audit of the PNP as to why they were rejected. Why were they rejected? Can any comrade come up and answer that question? You can't move forward unless you assess your present situation. Every government initiative is met as a threat to be discredited. They are against the speaker. They are against the prime minister. They are against NaRRA. They are against the buses. They are against JPS license being. Imagine the opposition with the audacity to say that Jamaica must renew JPS's license. Huh? We shouldn't even have sold JPS in the first place, I don't want you to think that that was a good decision for Jamaica to have made. I don't know what is in that contract. If the private owners of the contract can just lock down JPS and left the whole country in a darkness, what the government are going to do? It's the only supplier we have of electricity, and we sell it. It's like you have one TV in your house and you sell it to your neighbor. But you have the TV in your house and watch still. And what if your neighbor say, "Boy, I'm ready for my TV"? You know nothing to watch. We probably need to think about buying back the JPS and giving it to competent people to run. But we can't have one power company in the country and we sell it. But so broke we were at the time. You ever broke yet? You ever broke yet? That you start look around your house what you can sell? You sell your iron, you sell your stove, you sell every striking thing in your house when you're broke. That's why I saw Jamaica Wednesday one time. Broke so till you have to start sell all your there was a time in Jamaica, you see, when they were going around buying gold. They were going around in Jamaica buying gold. And people used to sell them wedding ring. A man tell me, say, him wife get up one morning and look for him wedding ring. cash for gold. Him wife get up and look for your wedding ring and can't find it. Where ring there? Man say tell it. Imagine you're so broke that your wife take off the wedding ring, put on, and you have to sell it. Buy cash for gold. No problem, sir. You can buy her back one now when you make money again. But that's where we were. Broke like a church mouse. By the way, why church mouse broke? Church mouse not supposed to broke, man. Supposed to have some money. Serious business. The posture forfeits the core role of an opposition in the Westminster system. To be a government in waiting, that role is forfeited. By refusing to accept the election, then the opposition is not going to support the government, because the question of who governs was settled on September 3rd. Argument done. That argument was settled. It is an affront to the people of Jamaica for any opposition party, any opposition leader in a democracy not to concede and to support the government, because the government does not exist on its own. It exists as the will of the Jamaican people. And this country is civic illiterate. And our civic illiteracy is causing us not to demand better from the opposition. The question of the legitimacy of the government was settled at the ballot box. You can say what you want to say what you want to say about the malignant influence of money. That argument was settled. And it having been settled, the Gleaner, RGR, Power 106, the opposition, JFJ, and all the civic groups must respect that. You'll have another chance in 2030 when the people again will decide who governs for the next 5 years. That's how it is set in the Constitution. And so any person who refuses to accept that is spitting in the people of Jamaica's face, because you are saying to the people of Jamaica, you made the wrong choice. And Jamaican people are not fool. They may be drunk, but they're not fool. Well, some of them drunk. The People's National Party is treating Parliament as an extension of the hustings. Parliament is being treated with disdain, and it must stop. It must stop. Parliament is not the political hosting ground. I could understand this if we were in the final year leading up to an election. But the budget speech of the opposition leader was a political speech. The budget speech of the spokesman on industry, political. Mr. Bunting in the Parliament Tuesday, political. Crawford, he's in there campaigning. All of them, they're either campaigning for the leadership of the People's National Party or for another general election. It's wrong. 6 months later, Jamaicans cannot identify what the PNP would do differently, only what it is against. And if that is not failure, then what is? After 6 months, for example, do we know tonight what are the plans? What are the alternative prescriptions? If the PNP were in government, would they have a NaRRA? How would they do it? 6 months. Jamaicans cannot identify what the PNP would do differently. What a shame. Only what they are against. We know what they're against. They're against NaRRA. They're against building hospitals. They're against expanding roads. They're against public sector transformation. They're against giving $150 million to JPS to put back light in poor people's house. They're against the Prime Minister's salary. They're against the Speaker. They're against everything. But we don't know what they are for. They're against even their leader. They are so against that even their leader is now, they are so against everything in Jamaica that they're against Andre Horton. Kick him out of the party. The gentleman that ran in Clarendon against Nesta Morgan, they're against him too. They're against everything in Jamaica. 6 months. We know what they're against. We don't know what they are for. I'm giving you 5 things. 15 minutes after 8 o'clock. Why the opposition is proven to be an obstruction and not an opposition. Number 1, failure to accept electoral reality. Secondly, a failure to offer a credible alternative on national reconstruction. The NaRRA debate exposed this failure most clearly. Post Melissa, the country needed speed plus scrutiny. An opposition that would pressure for delivery while shaping safeguards. Instead, the PNP's intervention was procedural and dilatory. It highlighted CEO appointment powers and disclosure penalties, but never tabled a competing, fully financed recovery mode. This opposition, People's National Party, is so lazy. And I tell you this, and I blame the government for it. Blame the government. The opposition MPs need a salary cut. They need a salary cut. The opposition leader's salary need to cut. And the opposition leader need a salary cut. And the opposition members, their salaries must be 20% less than what the government ministers and members are getting. Because then they don't have no, them need to step up. They are comfortable. Nigel Clark, through the public sector wage, gave these guys hefty money, you know. All of these MPs you see in parliament, they might get good money, you know. And you want to tell me, Mr. Crawford, you say you're bright. You can sit down and put before Jamaica how you would do it. What is your plan? You know, I don't know if the government MPs are strong either, you know, because sometimes when I listen to them in parliament, they need to dismiss these opposition people. You think I could be in a debate there and don't raise these matters? Where are your plans? $6.7 billion found by the government. You could find it. The opposition is warning about centralization. but they are proposing no decentralized alternative. How do you propose to spend 6.7 billion United States dollars? Mark Golding, how you plan to spend it? You divide it up among your MPs? That's what you're going to do? Give them each $500 million? Is that what would happen? Because you cannot criticize centralized structure, but you are not proposing a decentralized alternative. Because the $6.7 billion have to spend. How you would have spend it? And would you have been able to attract it? Would the PNP have been able to attract this amount of financing? I don't think so. Would they have garnered the trust of the multilaterals? I don't think so. They were promising organic growth in their manifesto. Mr. Robinson said that they were going to organically grow the economy. Mr. Robinson, what is organic growth? you see the absurdity of their proposal? You can't be talking about economic growth and you're going to be talking about organic growth. See Melissa come and you think the economy would have grown? How you'd have paid the $3.5 million tax, income tax threshold that you were proposing? It's a good thing the people of Jamaica rejected those absurdities. Not realistic at all. In the language of disaster politics, the opposition chose audit over architecture. At a moment when citizens were assessing which party could rebuild their homes and communities, the PNP offered critique of processes while government offered a pipeline of projects. You remember in the 1990s, Mr. Bobby Pickersgill always was talking about the pipelines. It was a pipeline government. And the pipeline clog up, nothing come out of it. PNP is a party that when election come lay a pipe. And after the election then took up at the pipe. The PNP when the election come lay a pipe. And after the election then took up at the pipe them.
Oh gosh.
The pipeline government.
Oh gosh.
You know, seriously, it's not a joke, you know. It's not a joke. When the election is drawing near, then dig out the trench them and carry pipe go put on in the communities then. Let me tell you something. Someone who should have gone to jail. Someone who should be arrested. But as I said, you see, we need a country of civic, literate people. People who think and stop make politicians trick on. Then carry pipe go put on in a people constituency and after the election then come then come back and pick up the pipe them. And the people them left without water. Yeah? Ginal ship.
Oh gosh.
Them a Ginal, you know, you do some five. One set of some five man them.
Oh gosh.
Anyway. I have to move on. Time is on me. Yes. The result, the opposition looked like it was defending bureaucracy against recovery. That's the second point. The third point is a failure to distinguish between opposition and obstruction. Opposition and obstruction. The last 6 months reveal a confusion of roles. We don't have any opposition in Jamaica. We need an opposition. This opposition is not an opposition. It's a, let me tell you something. it's a heartbreak for me. I'm going to tell you the truth. It's a heartbreak. I beg on Jamaica. No bother consider them a people are ready for an electoral. No, sir. They're not ready yet. They don't have a structure that is ready. Now think about them. Them not ready yet. Yes, and there are things that I could say, but I'm gonna say it, because them are people here not ready, man. They are obstructionists. And I want to link the NaRRA to it later, 25 after 8 o'clock. The last 6 months reveal a confusion of roles. And it tells you something about the party. It tells you how they see the Jamaican people. They don't respect Jamaicans. And maybe it's a risk, because many Jamaicans remain largely undereducated, but the advancement in technology have helped. People are now listening, paying closer attention, but the PNP is demonstrating a lack of, they don't see the Jamaican people as anything. I think it is a problem that we need to look at. A credible opposition forces better governance. Obstruction seeks to prevent governance. What do you need? Better government or preventing governance? What is going to whip these guys into shape, man? The PNP's approach to NaRRA, to budget allocations, and to emergency procurement measures has blurred that line. By aligning with civil society, the civil society language that paints urgency as authoritarianism. A man came on this program last night and was very upset, speaking about absolute power. There is no authoritarianism in Jamaica. Where? Look at the media. The party ceded the moral high ground of national interests. When reconstruction timelines are measured in months before the next storm season, delay becomes a substantive harm. Comrades, move out of the way of progress. Comrades, move out of the way. I beg you, just move out of the way. Stop obstructing the people of Jamaica. The rhetorical energy went into expanding veto points. More committees. I understand that it was said today that if the NaRRA bill goes to committee, 2 years before it leaves the committee. 2 years. Send it to a committee. For what? More consultations. More parliamentary stages, without demonstrating how those additions would accelerate a single house being built. Yet they are talking about, I hear Floyd Morris asking for the 5,000 container houses. Where them there? Where them there? The very opposition that is obstructing the process is asking for speed. That no hypocrisy, man. How can you be the obstructor And yet, when you go on the ground, you give the people the impression that somehow it's the government you're waiting on. When you go to parliament and you obstruct, the public, I think, is seeing the combativeness, the press conferences, the press nonsense. And I believe the press is seen through that. That's the third point. A failure to distinguish between opposition and obstruction. 8:30. My fourth point is that there's a failure to rebuild public trust in its competence. Failure to rebuild public trust in its competence. Let me remind you of the first three. One, a failure to accept electoral reality and real strategic, so that they could reset their strategic doctrine. Two, a failure to offer a credible alternative on national reconstruction. Three, a failure to distinguish between opposition and obstruction. And fourthly, a failure to rebuild public trust in its competence. One of the reasons why the opposition lost the last election was that the people did not see them as competent. And let me ask you listening to me now, do you think the opposition is competent? Do you see any managers over there? Anyone with technocratic competence? Anyone who could lead Jamaica through this reconstruction? Do you see it over there? Answer the question honestly and fairly. You think Mr. Crawford could lead Jamaica at this time? What about Mr. Isaac Buchanan? Better yet, would you make Miss Nikisha Burchell Prime Minister? Imagine. Imagine Miss Burchell being Prime Minister of Jamaica. Wow.
Oh gosh.
You know, imagine Miss Burchell at Jamaica House.
Oh gosh.
No, seriously. After 3 defeats, the PNP's central task was to prove it could govern again. That requires demonstration projects in opposition, shadow budgets, technical critiques. Do you listen to Kemi Bathela in the UK? You listen to her? Yeah, that's a real opposition leader. Technical critiques. After the opposition leader made his presentation in the parliament on Tuesday, he step out. I look as if Mr. Golding going through the door. He didn't even acknowledge the speaker when he was leaving. You know that when you leave in the parliament, you're supposed to, acknowledge the speaker in a little bow. Mr. Golding just step out. No, sir. Why, I tell you. Yeah. Technical critique. Bipartisan bills. Policy. Papers that show mastery. Which shadow opposition spokesperson is showing mastery of the subject that you would place in the ministry? Would you send Dr. Dawes up to hell? What about Julian Robinson? You think you would match him up against Auntie Favor about the Ministry of Health? What about Angela Brown-Burke? Angela Brown-Burke as our Minister of National of Foreign Affairs.
Oh gosh.
Mrs. Brown-Burke in the press conference said that that the minister was in Finland. The minister was at his office. Mrs. Brown.
Oh gosh.
Imagine Miss Nikisha Burchell as spokesman on as Minister of Information. Huh? Competence. Competence, comrade. Competence. No opposition spokesperson has become the public's trusted explainer of resilient economics. Which opposition spokesperson is attracting public confidence? Which one? Name it to me. Which of them is Jamaica could say the one day? Which one of them? What a woeful set. Huh? I see the man from St. Mary there sitting in a parliament. Boy, I tell you. Boy, I tell you. This is so heartbreaking. I don't even know if I can complete this. It's so sad. Jamaica don't have a viable opposition. How did we get here? Go make me cry. How did we get here? How did we really get here? It's really a threat to the democracy, you know. As I sat down on Tuesday and I listened to them, I said, wow, no one. I wonder if Lisa Hanna would come back. Don't even know how some of these guys got into parliament, but boy, wow. The party strengthened its seat count, but that has not translated into strengthened policy leadership. Strength of seats is not strength of policy. Ralph Gonsalves is the only member of his party in the parliament in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. He's a one-man opposition, and Ralph Gonsalves is doing a very good job against the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It's not about numbers. Not about numbers. Their strengthened seat count has not strengthened their policy posture. Instead, the public sees a party that is still arguing the last election, not preparing for the next crisis. In post-disaster Jamaica, competence is judged by one metric: who can get things built. The PNP has not made that case. If I'm telling a lie tonight, tell me, say I'm telling a lie. I'm being very practical. I want to be, well, I always am. They have not made the case for competence. Competence. They have not made that case. Number 5, a failure to meet the moment. A failure to meet the moment. National project versus the partisan project. That is one of the fundamental disappointments. Melissa created a rare moment for national project policies. Remember that the Labour Party's slogan was Choose Jamaica. Choose Jamaica. The PNP's was Time Come. And I will say to the party tonight, time come for the national project, not the partisan project. Mr. Golding, time comes, sir, for Project Jamaica. And if you don't join us on this national project, Mr. Golding, your legacy as opposition leader will be a dark, dim one. Turn it around. Turn it around, sir. Time come for the national project. Jamaica, land of beauty, we promise faithfully to serve thee with our talent and bring our gifts to thee. Jamaica, we will always If Jamaica succeeds, brethren, every comrade that you love so much will succeed. You won't have to stand up in your constituency and point to raw sewage running down the streets. Miss Burchell, your roads will be fixed, ma'am. You won't have to hip across with barefoot in your performative style to be high. Miss Julika Jess, the roads that you have down there in St. Elizabeth, they're going to be fixed, ma'am. Go and support the NaRRA bill. I want to stop play politics. Meet the moment. It's like a man marry a woman, and on the night of the honeymoon, he can't turn up. What a disappointment. What a disappointment. What a disappointment that would be.
Oh gosh.
You have to meet the moment. Yeah, but after pursuing, after pursuing for 2 years, you finally get a chance and you fail. You have to meet the moment, brother. I have to take a break. I need a drink of water. I'm going to be 22-9. I have to take a break. This show get too hot. It's our last night over here at TikTok. Oh my God.
Asking everyone to please repost the live, please. Please press that white arrow, then that yellow circle, and repost the live, please.
Thank you, moderator. Meet the moment. Melissa created a rare opportunity for national project politics, where the scale of destruction temporarily subordinates partisan differences to collective rebuilding. Functional democracies use these windows to show that opposition and government can disagree without derailing delivery. The PNP miss that window by treating NaRRA as a zero-sum electoral threat rather than a national instrument to be improved. The party signaled that its partisan project outranks the national project. Am I speaking the truth? Then let me hear you say amen. When you listen to them, do you get a sense that they are interested in Jamaica, or they are interested in their partisan selves? They have missed the moment. That choice has a cost. That choice has a cost. It tells swing voters that the PNP's instincts, even after a disaster, is to campaign, not to construct. Campaign, not to construct. We don't need any campaigning right now. We need constructing. Put away the partisan. Put away the paraphernalias. Let's rebuild this country. Let's construct this country. To every Jamaican tonight, to every Jamaican tonight, every Jamaican whose roof is not yet back on, whose bed, bite back yet. Hear what me tell you tonight. Politics is holding back your progress. Remember that when you go to the next election. The government is not. Lie them a tell. Lie them lie. A lie them lie. The government has done a remarkable job. But in also government work, you hear? Government needs sometime opposition to get involved, to push things forward. And your opposition is holding you back. That road that you're complaining about, Miss Jess, is your party, hold it up. Six months of no without a corresponding here's how. All we're hearing is no. Does not read as vigilance, it reads as absence. And for 6 months, the opposition is yet to show up in parliament. That's not opposition that show up in parliament, you know. That's the People's National Party. And there's the difference. I want you to understand that significant difference. The people that are turning up in the parliament on Tuesdays, it's not the opposition. We don't have an opposition in Jamaica. It's the People's National Party. Turn up there. 89 Old Hope Road. That's part of the problem we're having in Jamaica today. We don't have no opposition. What we have is a political party still in campaign mode. Something tells me that no matter how long and hard you campaign, if you don't get your act together, the results are going to remain the same. A word to the wise is sufficient. What is the bottom line? The bottom line is that the PNP's last 6 months prove the thesis. The party entered parliament with more seats, but not with more answers. They entered parliament with more seats, not with more answers. Its combative approach to NaRRA has not strengthened the democracy. It has weakened the opposition's claim to be an alternative government. Jamaica needed a partner in rebuilding. They got a party still fighting the last campaign. Until the opposition accept the loss, defines a governing philosophy, and choose construction over confrontation, it will remain in opposition, not just by seat count, but by the public's consent. Until the opposition accepts the loss, accept that you lost, define a governing philosophy, and choose construction over confrontation, you will remain in opposition, not just by seat count, but by the public consent. Someone asked me to repeat the 5 failures. You have to send me a money gun to do that. So let me go for it. And is it on? I'm joking on fire. Number 1, failure to accept electoral reality. Number 2, failure to offer credible alternative on national reconstruction. Number 3, failure to distinguish between opposition and obstruction. Number 4, failure to rebuild public trust in its competence. And number 5, failure to meet the moment. national project versus partisan project. Until you get this right, you will never advance in the public politics of Jamaica. 10 minutes to 9 o'clock. Let me go on to NaRRA and the politics of obstruction, because that is the genesis of my deliberation. I've looked at this and I've written extensively on it. I'm just sharing my thoughts with you. The political resistance to the National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority is less about the substantive accountability concerns and more about strategic electoral calculus. The opposition and allied civil society groups recognize that NaRRA's successful implementation would deliver visible large-scale reconstruction financed by an unprecedented $6.7 billion package. If that happens, or when it happens, it is going to bolster the governing party's credibility on delivery and economic resurgence ahead of the elections. Consequently, the public criticisms of the bill's centralization, and when you talk about the bill's centralization, you're talking about the Prime Minister driving the process. He is going to be the minister responsible. The obstruction of the opposition is designed to deny the government a signature achievement and making their arguments appear counterproductive to the national recovery effort they claim to protect. NaRRA, the politics of obstruction. And I'm going to show you over the next couple of minutes how disaster recovery becomes the electoral strategy for 2020, 2030. The strategy for the next election is right before your eyes. NaRRA, the politics of obstruction. Firstly, NaRRA converts disaster into electoral capital. I want you to note that. NaRRA converts disaster into electoral capital. Hurricane Melissa should have been a breaking point for a third term. Hurricane Melissa should have been a breaking point for a third term government. After 3 straight electoral defeats, the People's National Party's path back to power depended on a simple law of politics: incumbency fatigue. Not failure, the desire for change. Powerful psychologically. Hence, time comes. You notice that opposition parties love the change cliche. Time for a change. Better must come. Time come. Because naturally voters grow tired. Problems accumulate. And the disaster exposes the state's weakness. The devastation of Melissa left a $12.2 billion in assessed damage. These are the conditions under which oppositions win. Voter fatigue and a $12.2 billion damage the country mash up. A government strained for resources and a public primed for change. The government would be under tremendous pressure to win the election. I don't care how rock stone Labourite you are. But NaRRA converts disaster into electoral capital. What NaRRA did, it shattered the equation. Let me tell you, Labourite, something. And I know a lot of you listen to this program. You will not be able to better Wholeness as a leader. Can't better him. He is top notch. Top notch. NaRRA shatters every hope the PNP had of challenging for a break in the Labour Party's electoral success. I could call the election right now, but I'm just waiting on something. I test it out, The government, by securing $6.7 billion from the IMF, World Bank, IDB, Caribbean, CAF, and CDB, the largest development financing package in Jamaica's history. Never before have we gotten so much money to spend. And it bond it bond the comrades them, it bond comrades. Sorry, Mr. Man, you see, Uno must be careful. Uno must be very careful. God not sleep, He say, bond them subtle. The Prime Minister is executing it. Same Andrew Holness. Want to try to tear down. Same Andrew Holness. That want to try to destroy in the last election. Is going to lead the most massive reconstruction of his country in the history of Jamaica. Wow. NaRRA is not another ministry. It is a single branded delivery pipeline that fast-track procurements, prioritizes projects, and ties every new road, school, etc. into the executive. Directly to the executive. In electoral terms, that means ribbon cutting, then just a walk a cut ribbon. You think you see ribbon a cut yet? Lord Jesus, wait a little bit. You don't see nothing yet. Wait a little bit. Then just a walk a cut ribbon. Right before the next poll, the bill converts the ethics of intention into the ethics of result. For a government seeking a fourth term, that is the difference between blame and credit. NaRRA converts disaster into electoral capital. Then just a walk a cut ribbon. Bridge bill, then just a cut ribbon. New schools and hospitals, then just a walk a cut ribbon. New roads, and just a walk a cut ribbon. Man, I get new house, roofs, then just a walk a cut ribbon. My God, NaRRA converts disaster into electoral capital. Then just a walk a cut ribbon. Secondly, for the PNP, NaRRA is an existential threat to the time for change doctrine. The opposition strategic problem is structural. NaRRA's design sidelines the very institutions where the PNP exerts influence. Many of you probably may not even understand this, but it is true. Parliament, standing committees, the line ministries, by consolidating project preparation and execution, the authority moves the locus of competence from the legislator to the executive. If it works, the government owns the story of efficiency. If it is delayed, the government owns the story of urgency against obstruction. The NaRRA bill is a master stroke. It's a master political move. My God, when I saw that today, I said, are so wholeness good? This is why the opposition objections cluster around the process. This is why they are so worried. Not going to say much on that because I don't want to open too much eye. But after 3 defeats, the PNP cannot afford to let the Jamaica Labour Party campaign on competence. Cannot. Its only viable strategy is to slow delivery. That is the only strategy the PNP has. Fragment the credit that the government will get and keep incumbency fatigue alive as the dominant political law. And if you support NaRRA, it means risking the label of obstruction. It's a trap that has been set for the PNP. Boy, I tell you, opposing NaRRA means risking the label of obstruction. The PM set a trap. And it's not an accidental trap. I am sorry if I have to be revealing this to you. I haven't spoken to the Prime Minister, but I've seen it. The PM has set a trap for the PNP. And they have walked into it, which is why the labor rights who are criticizing Marlene don't understand politics. Ease up there a little bit. A trap set. It is a philosophical outcome of the bill. Sovereignty of execution replacing deliberate delay. I saw the bill design. And it will pass. Wow. Let me show you that the pattern of pushbacks reveal political strategy, not political oversight. The timing and alignment of criticisms betray the strategy. Because the loudest alarms from the opposition MPs and places like the Gleaner emerged only after 2 facts became public. First, the size of the multilateral financing package. The opposition start to bawl when they hear much money we're going to get to borrow. And secondly, the Prime Minister's framing of the bill as one of the most consequential bill in modern Jamaica. So the bawling start when they hear how much money and when they hear the Prime Minister say the bill is the most consequential in modern Jamaica. Before Melissa, the PNP could hope that fiscal strain would do its work. After Melissa, and with NaRRA funded, the opposition case had to shift from outcomes to procedure. Yet here is the disappointing truth. No opposition actor, no MP, not the leader of the opposition, has tabled a comparable, fully financed recovery vehicle. None of those civil society groups have suggested any structure that delivers equal speed with more oversight. The demand is always for more committees, more bureaucracy, more consultation, mechanisms that in practice postpone the very reconstruction milestones that would have occurred before an election. Let me wrap this up. Melissa gave the PNP its best chance in a decade. Melissa gave the PNP its best chance in a decade. A crisis that could have exhausted the government. NaRRA took the chance away. After Melissa, there was an opening for the opposition. That's politics. NaRRA took the choice away. The only chance the PNP had is removed. See with them. See with the comrades them. They are heartbroken. There is weeping and mourning and gnashing of teeth because they are not likely to succeed at the next election. If NaRRA works well, the PNP loses seats. It will not even win 28, no matter how hard it tries. The politics will change. 89 Old Hope Road may very well become the proverbial museum as predicted by Currency Morrison. NaRRA took the chance away, and the PNP knows it. But that's how life go. Uno say Andrew Holness caused the hurricane. The bill's financing and structure gives the administration resources. It gives the government resources and it gives the government agency. And resources and agency are two assets incumbents typically lose by term 3. In doing so, it rewrites the moral imagination of the next election. The question is no longer, are you tired of this government? That's not the question that will be asked. The question is, who can rebuild your country? The question for the next election is not, you tired of it? No, but can they rebuild? And the opposition knows this. They know this. And that's why the arguments against NaRRA read as counterproductive. They have to prioritize institutional leverage over national delivery and processes over projects, precisely because successful delivery would validate the government's claim to a 4th term. In the politics of disaster, he who controls the reconstruction controls the next election. No question about that. Learn that, neighbors. In the politics of disaster, He who controls the reconstruction controls the next election. NaRRA ensures that control sits with the Prime Minister. And let me tell you something about this Prime Minister. He is not going to drop this ball. I can tell you that. This Prime Minister non-drop the catch. That is why Marlene's intervention on Tuesday was such a golden opportunity. PM Holness is on top of the game. NaRRA ensures that control. The pushback, therefore, is not a defense of democracy. It is a defense of the opposition dwindling path to power. I'll tell you more about that when next I speak to you from the pages of the notebook. Repeat. The pushback from Bunting, from Paulwell, from Crawford, from all of them, is not a defense of democracy. It is a defense of the opposition's dwindling path to power. And every day that NaRRA is delayed, the opposition wins. The day NaRRA pass, you can write off the opposition's path. There's no path to break in the electoral strides of the Jamaica Labour Party. That's how I see it from the notebook. Join me again next time when I turn the pages of the notebook and tell you what's on the neighbor's notes. Thank you so much for staying with us tonight. We have 50 minutes to talk with the people online. We're going to start with Sasa. Then we go to the more elaborate Joshua and Protecting. Good evening to you, Sasa. Hello. Thank you, Blueberry. Thank you, Blueberry. Please remember, everyone, that tonight is a Friday night and you need to help us out with a gift. 954-635-8732. That's 9954. My friends on TikTok, you get paid. 954-635-8732. Send a gift to the Politics Plus Network and let us know how we appreciate you. And when you have done so, moderator, please give me their name so that I can thank them personally and individually. 954-635-8732. Thank you so much for doing that for us. 954. Dr. Shaba, thank you, sir. 954-635-8732. When I next speak to you, I will tell you about the pushback. Not a defense of any democracy, a defense of the dwindling path to power. Okay. So if you want to help us out and make a contribution to us, 954-635-8732. That's, if you're on YouTube, it's on your screen, going across your screen now. Thank you so much. Let's start with you, Joshua. Good evening to you.
Good evening, sir.
Nice. Oh boy, that voice of yours, man. God has blessed you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I don't have much, so he gave me what works.
You don't have much what?
I don't have much of life's trappings, but he gave me what works for me.
I thought you were referring to something else, but that's okay. Okay. Joshua, let's start where I ended. The pushback of the opposition, and not only the opposition, but civil society, groups in the society, is not any defense of democracy, Joshua. Don't you agree that it's a defense of the dwindling path of the opposition? Because NaRRA has stole the thunder. NaRRA has positioned the government for electoral success. Am I not correct?
You're correct, sir. But first of all, please accept a good evening to yourself, your panelists, and all your listeners, wherever they are. NaRRA stole the thunder because I think the PNP is looking for a thunder as opposed to looking for what's best for Jamaica. You know, the PNP having lost the September, the September 3rd election, is looking for a win at any cost, as opposed to looking for a win for Jamaica. They're looking for a win for themselves.
Yes.
And so with NaRRA coming on stream, they see that win fast dwindling. And so what they're trying to do is to step into the room to create disruption, to take away from what NaRRA positions this country to achieve. You know, and that is a very quick recovery without the trappings of some of the red tapes that would normally exist within procurement and other procurement related issues. And with that, the PNP sees it as something that is going to affect their next chances at the polls, as opposed to something that is going to get Jamaica on its feet quickly. And that for them is an upset. And that is why they are pushing back at it the way they are. You know, I listened to Delano Seabright this evening, and he spoke about the myriad of countries that faced some form of disasters. And not just only looking at them, but he looked at the results. And because of bureaucracy, red tape, bureaucracy, how most of them failed to get things going quickly.
Yes.
You know, and the different gaps that exist. As a result, I sent the same tape to you, and it would be a very insightful listen, right? And I when I listened to his research that he did, and look at what NaRRA hopes to achieve, NaRRA hopes to learn from the mistakes of the predecessors in this era in terms of disaster and disaster management and post-disaster rebuilding. And to better, to equip themselves to better handle what we have to do going forward. And so the PNP doesn't want that, really. What the PNP is more interested in is the seat of power. And so, yes, it has stolen their thunder.
Okay, how do you explain, though, the other opposition in the society? Are these aligned to the opposition? Is this a concert of voices that have agreed that because, you know, everything is tied together?
Well, that question is best answered by what a former minister of tourism under the People's National Party stated in a presentation that she gave some years ago.
Yes.
She said we have formed some civil group, and they are not civil group, but we have packed them with PNP because we have an agenda, right? And so that gives a clear indication as to what the civic group represents. They represent, as you rightly stated, a concert of voices on behalf of the PNP and not on behalf of Jamaica. And how do we know this? Because whenever anything goes awry, that points a finger to the PNP. Violence that exist from the said group. But if the Jamaica Labour Party sneezes, even if no one catches a cold, then all of them come out loudly singing, some tenor, some bass, but all of them are singing together, you know, to form one chord that really is a discord, you know. So yes, there are, you know, a concert of voices.
Okay. Protecting Jamaica. Good evening to you, sir.
Good evening, neighbor. Good evening, Joshua. Listeners.
Good evening, sir.
Protecting Jamaica. The Gleaner today, yesterday, Edmund Campbell said that the NaRRA bill was shredded. In other words, it don't work the paper it write. It was written on. What that is strong language coming out of the Gleaner protecting Jamaica. In light of the substance of the bill, in light of what we are learning, the possible strategy of the People's National Party, what do you think the Gleaner's position on this bill is really saying at this time?
Let me respond to you this way, neighbor. Again, good night to the listeners who have joined us. Let me respond to you this way concerning the Gleaner. 2 years ago, when I launched my campaign against the Gleaner.
Oh, you did?
Oh, yes. It was an unsubscribe campaign. Within weeks, I had people comment in the comments on YouTube while I was having those lives. And every day, every week, I turn on the live. I had more than 10 people commenting, new people, that they have unsubscribed. Within months, the Gleaner reported that they lost about 250 million from their online subscriptions. Sooner than later, other bloggers took it up, and it was now a widespread campaign. Ditch the Gleaner, unsubscribe. Now, we have seen in recent months, leading up to the election, the Gleaner went all out against the government. There was no ifing and butting anymore as to where the Gleaner stood and who the Gleaner was supporting. They went all out in support of Mark Golding. A few months ago, we saw the report where the Gleaner was now contracting its printing of the papers, the physical papers, to the Observer. Then about a month later, the report was that they moved from the North Street building. So everything is now compacted at Lyndhurst Road. And then we heard about a month ago that they have closed down about 3 or 4 radio stations.
2.
Okay, 2. 2 already. Okay, there are more to come. Now, the question I will ask, which is the last part of my response, is since the Gleaner RGR group, which includes TVJ, went out on a limb to support Mark Golding, will Mark Golding use his considerable resources that he came to us and beat up his chest, that him rich long time? Will he now use his resources to save the Gleaner? And that is my response to your neighbor. Next question.
Oh, you leaving it right there, sir?
Right, that's a neighbor. Me not have nothing much and nothing good to say about the Gleaner. So Edmund can write all he want, him can save the Gleaner, and he's going to be looking at jobs somewhere soon. And I hope that a certain gentleman who is lining up to buy that conglomerate in a few months' time, I hope when them buy it, they fire all of them backside. Again, next question, neighbor.
Okay. I want you to comment on some things that I said earlier, that the People's National Party seem to have failed to accept the electoral reality of September 3rd. What would be your comment on that in terms of an acceptance and an admitting of this reality as a means of transitioning from campaigning to opposition?
We're in a new dispensation of Jamaican politics, neighbor. We're in an era with a kind of politics that the PNP doesn't understand. I have first-hand experience, neighbor, of how the PNP used to run and have won elections. And this kind of results-based politics, this kind of production type politics, where for the first time in our nation's history, for the past 10 years, we have politicians that are actually showing what they were voting in for. They're doing the job. The PMP really cannot survive in this kind of atmosphere. And so, what we're seeing from the PMP neighbor is just an highlight of how they have been all their existence. All their existence have been about manipulating the populace. Now, the manipulation stopped working since 2002. And that's when PJ realized that, you know what, I need to plan my exit. And by 2006, leading up to the next election, PJ was gone because he knew that if he had gone to the poll again, he would have been defeated, and he did not want that. So the People's National Party really don't know how to behave any better, neighbor. They don't. And there are many people who expect a lot from the PMP without understanding the very existence of the PMP was not established on any sensible foundation or footing. And so what we're seeing today of the People's National Party is sort of an unraveling. It's sort of a decapitation of the party itself by itself. And it's like you have somebody sitting down pulling out his or her own hair, neighbor, because they are confused. Their mind is all twisted. They don't know what to do. And you're right. As I listened to you earlier, the fourth term, the PMP won't be able to survive 28 seats.
Yes.
The writings are on the wall. NaRRA is going to see to the death of the PMP. And I urge the government, may I talk to them from now, when you get to 2029, 2030, and you win the fourth term with another super majority, make sure that you drive constitutional reform through the parliament. Nobody sweet up and pretty up. And talk about you drawing a chair for put Mark Gold in for sit down. Him no use to them kind of something there. Him no use to them something there. Ag used to ag pen and walla in a mud. That's how you treat ag. And that man has been behaving like a pig since him come from the political space. And with his addition to the party, now leading the party, and the party having no foundation in any sensible politics, we are yet to see the full unraveling of the People's National Party. They're not going to survive, neighbor. By the time NaRRA roll out and the almost $2 trillion start spend, the PMP will be null and void in the Jamaican landscape. It will be all about what the government is doing. Remember now, we're a neighbor. The PMP is like a drowning man or a person who is swimming and they are tired, so they keep resting by diving and coming up for air every now and again. They come up for some air. And this is what is happening to the PMP. They are becoming irrelevant. And every now and again, you see them either have a press conference or some foolishness them jump out with just to remain in the public discussion. And sooner than later, when them start dagger them one another over there, we are going to see them having this. We have to put them on aspies. Put them in at the departure lounge and wait for them to go, because they're not going to survive this term. This term is a very powerful term, and this term is going to bring forth some results that they are not going to be able to withstand.
Okay, thank you so much. Hold on there for me. So I'm joined on YouTube by my co-host Harry Henriquez. Good evening to you, Harry.
Good evening, neighbor. Good evening, neighbor rights and everybody.
Little bit of echo there for you, Harry, over on YouTube. Are you all right, sir?
Yeah, I'm fine, neighbor.
Comfortable over there?
Well, Let's see how comfortable it gets tonight.
Okay, Harry. Jump in whenever you want. But let me ask you, Harry. Melissa Harry gave the PNP its best chance in a decade. I think so. A crisis that should have exhausted the government. NaRRA took that chance away, Harry. The bill's financing structure give the administration resources plus agency. Harry, how was the government able to secure this large amount of financing to fund this reconstruction? How did they do it?
Well, neighbor, it's a series of events. It is backed by discipline. You know, in fact, this is the administration that will be known as the best financially and fiscally responsible and disciplined administration in Jamaica's history as it stands. Because if we date it back to any one of the administrations before this one, there's none that has been this disciplined and gotten the results through being that disciplined. Now, it's the major things from it why they're able.
Before you go on, Harry, help me a little bit. Would the Portia Simpson Miller administration or even the Bruce Golding administration before them be able to attract this funding?
They wouldn't have been in the position to do so.
They would not.
They would not. Because let me just, give synopsis of both, right? Bruce Golding's administration would have had to make it to this time, right, to achieve what the Andrew Holness administration have, which also means they would have probably gone through, if we're supposed to give them 10 years, that would take them to the starting of this one, 2015, thereabout. It simply means they would have to have maintained, the IMF deals. They would have to be a lot more tighter, or rather tighter, fiscally than even Andrew Holness's administration, because of the time we were coming out of. The greatest depression in 100 years, hit Jamaica, and the thing about that, right? It is less so the time frame of that depression, and more so the state that Jamaica was in, why they couldn't handle that depression, why it was worse than a lot of nations, right? Because we didn't have the culture. We were just trying to develop that culture. In fact, we didn't even get a few months good before we were hit by that recession. So Jamaicans didn't know what that was like.
Yes.
And then we didn't have the financial structuring. Because remember, the IMF was who came in and gave us the give that financial sector the structure that it needed. Not wanted, not a choice, but it needed to have gotten those frameworks put in for the financial structure because of what happened in the 90s, which eroded that level of in the infancy stage of developing a proper financial sector. And everybody knows the financial sector in a country is what truly shows its strength. Because if you have a weak financial sector, it leads towards insufficiencies in other areas, deficiency in areas as well, in different sectors that may not be getting funding. And it spans right across the board. We've seen that when it comes down to security and fighting crime in Jamaica. We're using pennies to try and fight a dollar war, right? So in that time, Jamaica was just getting into the gear of, let's go on this path to being disciplined, the whole aspect of the bitter medicine. And Jamaica never really liked that, right? Because they didn't know what being disciplined was. A culture was created for the longest time, 2 decades, thereabout, of handouts, of depending on politicians, of depending on an individual rather than a system from the government. What we're seeing with Andrew Holness administration is that they want and they're pushing for people to depend on the systems and framework put in place, as opposed to an independent individual, a politician, a member of parliament, or who you know. They want the system to do its job. Something it should have done since we got independence, which we had a lot of mismanagement that failed the people in that manner.
Yes.
Now, looking in terms of for what Bruce Golding administration had to deal with, they wouldn't have been able to reach here just yet, right? Now, if I keep it a little over, because really and truly was down to the people. They were just getting into a little transition period. Of course, the People's National Party got their hands back because the people reverted to them, reverted to familiarity because they didn't understand the change, a change that they need, but it is unfamiliar to them. So they go back to the necessary evil that they know. And that happens with human beings, but right throughout history. So
Yes.
it is not alarming. Well, definitely for me, it's not, because I know how that is. And we can look at it, each individual who may want to question, look at yourself. Sometimes you go to the familiar grounds rather than challenge yourself to go to better pastures. You know what the end result can be, but the process is not familiar to you. And as such, it requires a different output from you that you also second guess if you have. So rather go back to the evil that we know, and that's what Jamaica did with the Portia-Sims administration in that time while they got in.
Yes.
No, IMF came in and restructure. They didn't ask what to be done. They gave an ultimatum. You want this money? This is what you have to do. And this is the timeline you have to do it. Right? Now, for those who will run come, because we know you'll have the die-hearted and so on, neighbor coming in. Yes, Jamaica had somewhat in the legal framework. I'll give that to Matt Golding because he played a role in that. But it is both government, opposition, and other stakeholders that helped the legislative framework. But the truth is, the overarching system and demands was done by the IMF. So we had to find a way, no matter what happened.
We want to learn this, Harry. Very important. So what you are saying is that to enter into an IMF arrangement, the IMF provides technical support that
Yes.
that countries have to take on. It's tied to the loan itself.
It is.
So some of the things that we did is not we come up with them. The IMF say you have to do this.
Right. And what happens that when they say, let's say, they look at us and say, okay, what was one of the main things that was happening in Jamaica, neighbor, coming out of the 90s, early 2000s, was that, the whole interest rate being extremely high. And as such, money came in from overseas, foreign investments, went to these instruments. Most of the time, they were fixed instruments and also government bonds. Now, government bonds, in essence, is really the government borrowing money from an individual, from an institution, anybody who invests in it. So the government is the borrower, and the other persons, most of the times being foreign investors, were the lenders. And this money was used to fill the gaps in the budget, and we normally had a huge gap in our budgets. Regardless of how many taxes was placed on the Jamaican people, there was always a large gap there. So we had a lot of government bonds putting out fixed instruments, certificate of deposits, debentures, these kind of instruments right across the board. But the problem with this was that the interest rate was so high for Jamaica that foreign investors could have changed the money to Jamaican, right? And then when they got their return, change it back again, so foreign exchange, and they would still beat the rest, most of the world that was giving interest. Jamaica rate was still higher despite that conversion. So it showed how ridiculous it was for Jamaica. But this money did not create any production whatsoever. There's no productivity because it goes to these instruments, right? And then it leaves back. So it didn't stimulate any economical growth. And that was what hurt the financial sector. Now, the IMF said that had to be done away with. So what we had was a lot of cash, neighbor, sitting there, nowhere to go. And the IMF said, listen, you have to put different framework in place. So you have to now create an avenue for this money to go somewhere. And that was one of the major key things why the Jamaica Stock Exchange rose to prominence in that time. So it wasn't that we were exceptional. It was key driven things instituted by Jamaica. The IMF played a big deal on that. And yes, you know, the brokers and private sector and so on, they did what they had to do. They didn't really have a choice, because if you want to stay in the game, you adapt or you die. And when you go into business, you don't ever want to die. You want to make money. And as such, a lot of that money now, neighbor, was diverted into the stock exchange, because now you have to find somewhere. Interest rate now was going down lower, so you can't get the same level of ridiculous returns that you could just by what I call set it and leave it version of investments. So now we saw that rose to prominence, and that was one of the results of the IMF. In fact, one of the biggest, because what that did, neighbor, was force the financial framework to be built out faster and try to put some level of trust that was eroded in Jamaica because of what happened in the 90s. Now, that created a little stimulus for businesses to try and come back a little. They can now get capital, you know, from this area. And as such, we started to see some stimulation. That is why when you heard Auditor at the time say, listen, we can get cheaper money elsewhere. That was what he was alluding to, because we were committing to foreign investors high interest rate, and it wasn't doing anything for the country, when the truth is you could have gone to borrow at single digit, because our interest rates were like 20%. Sometimes it was 10 to 15% higher than the next best investment, and Jamaica didn't have. It was that true reflection of confidence in Jamaica. It was more of a backdoor that you saw as an investor, because I can't blame the investors here. You see an opportunity, you take it and you run with it, right? But it didn't do anything for the country. And Auditor looked at all of that and said we could have gotten money for less. The government could have committed to less in terms of interest rate and less stress on the people's back. And he showed Jamaicans that it could have been done, right? Now, when we look at what was happening now with IMF said we had to do XYZ. And this is the layout I'll give you. How you implement it is up to you. That is where, you know, the stakeholders come into place. The government, you'll have your Mark Goldings for legislation and so on. That was the level that they played. So you'll hear them come and say, oh, it wasn't IMF. And they will talk up this section that I'm speaking about as if it was the great part of it. No. You were given an ultimatum and you do it or you don't get the money. So you had to force it and find ways. You were put on the back bench to say, listen, do this or else. And most times, neighbor, nobody wants the or else. So they'll find ways. They will do what they have to do. And that was key. And the IMF laid out that framework and they ensured that they give it a timeline. Which was why we saw that happening. But nothing really happened under the Portia Simpson administration, because it was on an automatic thing. You had these things laid out that you had to achieve. You had no choice. So you weren't governing Jamaica really, because you wanted, in order to have the power to say you're leading Jamaica or you're the prime minister and you're the ruling party, you had to do what another country technically wanted.
Yeah. So you are saying, Harry, that because I think this has been left out of the discussion, Jamaica's ability to attract this amount of resources is a testament to what exactly? Why were we able to get this money?
It was a testament to how strong leadership came into the fray, how discipline over, you know, we have the thing we said to party with the rent money. It was doing what you have to in order to do what you want to eventually. We're not there to the last party yet. But in order to claw back Jamaica from the depths of financial hell, because remember, the court didn't fall lightly that we're becoming the Greece of the West, which means we were being almost worse than Argentina. Argentina is one of the worst setup when it comes on to the financial aspect in the West right now. Greece had to be bailed out. Go ahead, neighbor.
No. I'm just listening. Go ahead, man.
So Greece had to be bailed out, I believe, by Germany, which means they were given more than a lifeline. That was the trajectory of Jamaica. If IMF didn't come, because IMF saw the potential of Jamaica and a neighbor, right? People, let's not fool ourselves. We are one of the most strategic and best positioned country geographically. We are set between, going in terms of Africa, the transatlantic trade area, where they're closer to the trade coming from the Panama Canal, and that goes right up to North America. That is a heavenly position geographically. It means you can tap into anywhere. Latin America and South America, we know we're going to be emerging markets. Anybody who is in the space that didn't know that was going to be a thing wasn't looking in the future. This administration saw that as well. So they were working around to try and get that done. And what they saw was we have to be better fiscally first. We have to find a way to get down our debt to be considered. We had to also be able to change the minds of people on how money works. We also had to change the mind to say, listen, you have to be prudent in how you go about your day-to-day lives. Yes, you may not necessarily get the glamour life that you thought you'd have, but if you make these sacrifices, you'll be at ease a little better. You'll be exposed to more resources, and eventually the standard of living will be better. But we have to do these things, and the government went about it very strategically, right? So much that we saw funding for different sectors being increased, different ministries getting money, right? So when we hear of people, saying things about the government should have done this earlier, done something sooner. No, everything is a process, and you can't, if you don't finish process A, you can't go to process B. This is that game where you can skip to a different stage. This is real life, and you had to achieve the things set out yearly in order to do so. So one of the major things was that removal of the BOJ from the government. That had to be done. That was something countries who want to move forward had to ensure they reduce the potential influence. I won't say corruption, but the potential influence of a government on its central bank. You always want that to stand independent, and this administration achieved that with Nigel Clark, which showed it was forward thinking, right? But they had to do a lot of things in order to achieve just that. And that was a power move, but you couldn't have done something like that before its time.
Yeah. Because
you didn't have the framework for it to stand and to be effective, right? So much that it's so good, neighbor. We hear the opposition spokesperson on finance wanted to borrow $1 billion from BOJ if they were in power. So it shows that it works. It also shows the people that, listen, we're going to be aggressive on this debt so we can be more attractive. Right? So that people can look at us now in a light to say we're not borrowing our way back to the depths of financial hell. We are strapping our bellies. We're banning, as Jamaicans have said, ban the belly, neighbor. Right? And push through. We know what survival mode was like, but this is now being disciplined as a nation, as a unit, in order to achieve something going forward. So I don't see where the previous two administrations would have been able to achieve this at this level, because one of the things Andrew Holness had over both in terms of Bruce Golding and Ms. Portia Simpson-Miller was that he knew how to get the private sector involved. This is the first time, from my understanding, what I've seen and studied, the private sector is this involved with the government. They're integral. The technocrats are coming left, right, and center. Recruiting is a key setup in the administration, and it gave that blend as to how the country can move forward. So we didn't have just people within the area that are like-minded. These are persons exposed globally, because we're now in a global market. So anything you're doing as a government, you can't just think for just the country or just the region. You have to see how you can have a big play or a say globally. Whatever you put in place, how does it position the country on the global scale? And we were able to do that where people saw crime as the biggest deterrent for investors for sectors to grow. And when I say investors, I'm not just speaking about foreign investors, neighbor. I'm speaking locally. Because
Yes.
a man will have the money, probably if he put up a business, he might have to pay extortion. And that is money lost. He knows now, if you look in the period, neighbor, for Jamaica, if you and I went ahead a decade ago, let's say from 2000 to 2016, we could have set up a security business and become multimillionaires, because that is where Jamaica was going. Everybody had to be invested into security, whether it be cameras, security systems. If you look at that time frame and see the rise of security companies, you knew where Jamaica was going, and that was $1 billion industry, and that is me making it underwhelming. But this administration has shown that how they've been able to be better fiscally and financially. They were able to now pump money to fight the monster that deterred its very people living within to try and expand. Because if you open a business, neighbor, you get free. Everybody think a businessman or entrepreneur rich because you open a business, even when the business is break even. And now you have to be paying extortion and so on, which kills a business. That has been eroded, and it's going down slowly but surely. We got a big drop. Credit to them. Definitely the work is paying off. But it shows that people are now getting that investment power in Jamaica. We see businesses coming to the market showing more strength, right? We're seeing diaspora investing more. So it's not just remittances. Yes, remittances is still our number one, but people are now putting back into Jamaica. We see senior citizens, want to come back to Jamaica to give their time, to give their skill sets that they've learned elsewhere, and to help Jamaica grow again. That is a testament to how well this government has put things in place to bring that national pride and confidence back, which translated globally for people seeing that Jamaica finally can realize some of its potential going forward, and they don't want to miss out on that opportunity.
Fantastic, Harry. I think you've revealed so much there, and that there's so much I could ask you, but boy, time. Honeybee.
If I may, just for a minute, because Harry went through some very important aspect of what existed between 2012 to 2016.
Yes.
As it relates to the IMF. Very important. Now, as I've shared a number of times that I've worked in the public sector within that time, and I am familiar with the very setup of the Ministry of Finance. And I know that people take it lightly because what it will require for me to provide the receipts will expose a lot more things. And so, I won't go too deep down that road. But you should not take it lightly, people who are listening, when I say to you that Edward Seaga was helping the PMP to navigate the IMF deal. I could go a little further to say that Edward Seaga was running the PMP's finance ministry between 2012 to 2016. I know that heavy for a lot of people, but it needs to be said, and I have challenged already Peter Phillips and those who listen, who knows him, to come forward and declare to the people of Jamaica that throughout the period of that IMF deal, 2012 to 2016, Edward Philip George Seaga helped you, sir, to navigate the challenge ministry. He was very integral in Jamaica surviving that arrangement. Edward Seaga. Peter Phillips met with Edward Seaga every week for advice and other just his wisdom on how to navigate. Because remember, Edward Seaga must not be counted out of Jamaica's progress, you know. He was one of Jamaica's best finance minister. He was.
Those were the Tuesday meetings predicting.
Yes, the Tuesday meetings, some of them were on Thursdays too. And Peter Phillips, because, and the reason why I've gone there over the past couple of months, even leading a little bit up to the election, neighbor, when Mark Golding speaks, and when Julian Robinson speaks, they speak as if the PMP did something great by themselves. This thing started in 2010, October 2010, with Bruce Golding, Fiscal Accountability Framework. That bill was tabled in Parliament by the JLP. It was carried through, it continued under the PMP, and Mark Golding as Minister of Justice completed the regulations so that the bill could be operational. And when the IMF deal was struck, Peter Phillips did not know what to do, and he did not trust Omar Davies. Who did Peter Phillips trust? Edward Seaga. And I know this personally. These are meetings that I am aware of personally. And just to glue that on the back end of that brilliant presentation that Harry just made, the People's National Party, and we saw it, neighbor, how forceful they were. It's as if they were fighting to be recognized as having a part to play in what Jamaica has become. And even in that effort that they were making, they could not be honest with themselves. They could not be honest to say that fiscal accountability framework were tabled and passed in the Parliament by Bruce Golding and the JLP government, and they carried through. They could not be honest with that. And Peter Phillips did not even participate or contribute to the discussion in an honest way. Because if he did, then the PMP could not present a credible argument to the people of Jamaica as it relates to where we are today. Edward Seaga helped the PMP in their term of 2012 to 2016 to manage the finance ministry with that IMF deal. I'm going to stop right there, sir.
Wow. Honeybee?
Hello?
Good night to you. How are you doing?
Good night. I was just here and I was laughing because I cannot believe that when I heard bring up Edward Seaga, I was like, okay then. I was waiting to see who would say it because I just simply, there's so many things that would not known to the public or ordinary man. But if you are in the space, you will understand that the IMF deal was not just as it looked. And we know that there's no way. Portia Simpson Miller herself did not trust Omar Davies. Because I don't know if people remember when Omar Davies said he knew what he was doing would have cost Jamaica dearly, but it was an election time, so he said, run with it.
Yes.
So with that, I remember during 2012 to 2016, when the IMF deal and we understand that we have to pan our belly anyway, even though we did not want to take the bitter medicine that Ardishaw talked to us about, we had to still take it. When I heard
when it was Andrew Holness who spoke about the bitter medicine.
No, the bitter medicine said before that.
Oh.
If I'm not, yes, it said before that. It said before that. It said in Bruce Golding time and nobody wanted that. Right? And I heard my mother was having a discussion with her people that she always talked to. And I heard she said, what you see happening here, it have the footprint of the real man. And I I was like, who is the real man? But I didn't intervene in our conversation because she was talking to her age group of people, you know. And I said, who is the real man? But I decided to ask her the question just when Andrew Holness went in 2016. I said, Mommy, who is the real man? And she said, the real man is Edward Seaga. You have to understand this thing. So we say, okay, no problem. But I did not ask her what she was talking about. When I said the footprint, it was when she was saying what Protecting said about the meetings that Peter Phillips have with Edward Seaga. I said, okay, there you go. So thank you, because I did not understand when she said it had the footprint of the real man. And that's how it was. So I understand fully now, and I thank you, Protecting and Harry, for putting it out to us. And one thing where I will say to you about Mark Golding not accepting defeat.
Yes.
The problem with Mark Golding is he does not see Andrew Holness as his equal. He believes that he's above him, and he shouldn't. Where Andrew Holness is sitting, he should be there. And because of that, he.
Wow, we're not hearing you at all. Honeybee, we're not.
Neighbor.
Come in, Joshua.
Right. Until she works out the kinks, I want to comment also on this matter of Edward Seaga, because I think this nation has not given him the due that he should have received. Edward Seaga possesses a mastery in economic management that I don't think this country recognizes, and not just economic management, but planning procedures and strategies that is needed to move any nation forward. When we look at the footprint from all the way back to the 60s coming up of Jamaica, the building out of Jamaica's infrastructure, the 100 the 100 village, the 5-year developmental plan, creation of UDC, the creation of Ocho Rios, the creation of Montego Bay, the giving of Montego Bay the naming of a city, the creation of Portmore, the festivals, the creation of reggae music as it is, our first attendance at the World Music Festival, and on and on and on. But I want to fast forward to how we brought back the economy in 1980 after Hurricane Michael Manley handed it over to him, and brought it back from the brink of disaster. And within 3 years, Jamaica was back on track. Right? When we look at the moves that he made and bringing foreign investors to Jamaica, the meeting in Washington that led to record investments at that time, the creation of Heart for the development of young people and skills training and all of these things, the building out of the free zone sector in Jamaica at that time, the creation of Digitport, which is the first satellite in Jamaica, so that we can now have internet and cell phones that the PNP like to take credit for. All aspects of Jamaican society, that great visionary person that Edward Seaga was. And when we look at, even after he lost in 1989, instead of moving on to the sunset and said, boy, let them fight, his concern was still for Jamaica. When Michael Manley decided to pursue liberalization, and he warned against the early foray into that, to say, hey, you're moving too quickly, take it step by step. And I'm just paraphrasing for those who may not be au fait with technical terms of references, but he warned, he cautioned against heading in that direction without putting the necessary guardrails in place. and how it would impact the country. We must contend that the man is a genius. In fact, since evening, while I was alone, seated in my vehicle, one of the things that I was looking at is his presentation in Parliament sometime in the 90s when he presented on the Sea Island cotton, the same thing that I spoke about earlier today. You know, I just realized that this man was a genius. Anywhere in the world that he was, if he was in another country that cooperated more and didn't have the stops and starts that we had, that country would be at the top of the hill right now, you know. And he was basically behind everything in Jamaica, the dollarization, the nationalization, you know, the financial sector, you name it. Every part of Jamaica was touched by Edward Seaga. The only part that we cannot truly say that had his footprint was the judiciary, to the best of my knowledge. But when I did the research, every sector of Jamaica's society, Edward Seaga not only had a role to play, but he had a major role in the overall creation or development or continuation of same. Right? And I think we ought to do something to honor the man. Right, one day, sometime, and PNP need to put politics aside. And it's not so much PNP, you know, it's Mark Golding, because he lacks self-esteem, right? And these lackeys who run behind him now, you know, the current political crop and the bloggers that run behind him, wanting to disparage, you know, not only him, but the Jamaica Labour Party, instead of looking at what is best for Jamaica. So even as we, and I want to thank Harry for going down that route and protecting for continuing and Honeybee, because we cannot have the true history of Jamaica being written, right, and the development of Jamaica being written without Edward Philip George Seaga being truly in his rightful place, which in a sense, outside of Bustamante, we can truly say that he might have been the father of Jamaica's development.
Fantastic. Would you do a little bit of forecasting for me, Joshua, before you have to go? Joshua, let us assume positively that NaRRA passes the lower house, goes to the upper house, passes there too. The bill is approved and Jamaica starts the reconstructing. Joshua, would you position Jamaica in 4 years' time for me? What do you think we would look like?
Well, before coming on the program since night, I was also looking at another thing, which was a smart city. I don't remember which part of the world it was. And basically, a smart city is an organized city, and forecasting usage of electricity, water, etc., etc. In other words, the consumption of everything, and putting mechanisms in place to ensure that these things are done in an organized way, right, and provided for to be used in an organized way. That's the simple version of it. And as you have asked me to do in terms of forecasting, providing that the government does what they ought to do, which is to push back past the opposition if the opposition don't want to cooperate, and the howls and screams of civil society, and in some instances even the media, to get the job done. Even if we lose the next election, at least Jamaica would have benefited. And God forbid, we really don't want to, because Jamaica is dependent upon the Jamaica Labour Party. But if the government does what they should do, and what I project that they will do for the greater good of Jamaica, then what we will see is a Jamaica heading into 2030 and into the 22nd century thereof, shining like the sun and taking its rightful place in the world, which is being the beacon of the Western world, and I dare say even ahead of the United States of America. And I know that may sound optimistic, but Jamaica has so much to offer to the rest of the world. Jamaica has always led the way in so many areas, right? We have had so many firsts, even ahead of the United States. And I don't think we understand our true potential. And I believe that if NaRRA succeeds the way I anticipate that it should, right, then certainly we will achieve those objectives.
Okay, and Joshua, the success of Jamaica no benefit comrades as well as labor rights. So why is there obstruction?
Well, comrades don't care about Jamaica, you know. And as you rightly ask, if it doesn't benefit comrades also, it benefits all Jamaica and Jamaican, right? And you know, when Jamaica prospers, its citizens prospers. But when the comrade prosper, the country suffers, right? And if its labor rights alone prosper, then the country also suffer. So it is incumbent upon all of us, labor rights, comrades, and no raids or peace, to look to do what is right by Jamaica and for Jamaica, right? So that not only us will benefit, but our children will benefit. And so the comrades are pushing back because they don't have that foresight and visionary outlook to understand that this is not about the JLP's legacy, though it will redound to that, right? But this is really about what Jamaica can be and ultimately will be if we pull together for the greater good. Or I will ask the PNP for one simple thing. Even if you are not willing to work alongside with the government, don't fight against it.
Let me ask you this.
Just keep quiet and let the government move ahead.
Yeah, Joshua, we have had other opposition parties in Jamaica and other opposition leaders. I actually grew up on opposition Jamaica Labour Party. There was one time when I thought that was included in their name, the opposition Jamaica Labour Party. When you listen to the news, that was just what you heard. I thought that they were just the perpetual opposition, never to become government. That was what the governing People's National Party, the opposition Jamaica Labour Party. Joshua, what is the difference between the opposition leaders we had, Portia, Seaga, Bruce, Andrew, and Mark Golding? Why is Mark Golding coming across as being just different? My word, different.
All right. So the difference is, and I will start here, is that though there was a difference in ideology and approach towards the development of Jamaica, what was common is that they both wanted to see Jamaica succeed. And when I said both, I'm talking about both parties. In the case of Mark Golding couldn't care less about Jamaica. Oh. What he wants is for Mark Golding to succeed and for his resume to say that he was prime minister. That's the difference between he and the rest of them. You know, when we look at even Michael Manley has done Jamaica many ills, right? Many of them. But I believe to a certain degree that he might have still been sincere. I can leave with that to say he might have still been sincere. I've seen violence, not heard about it. I've seen violence taking place in front of Michael Manley. I was present when it happened. But I still believe that he wanted what was best to a certain degree for Jamaica, though he also had ambition to be the leader of the Western world, at least the small islands in the Western world and the communist bloc of the West of the Caribbean. He also had such an ambition, but he still wanted prosperity, right? When we move on to PJ Patterson, to PJ Patterson, though not having a clue how to run an economy, right? And though he was the only prime minister to have put mechanisms in place that benefit him even after retirement, that his pension would be equal to the sitting prime minister, I still believe that he was not an obstructionist as Mark Golding is, right? When we looked at Portia Simpson and we look at even Peter Phillips, all of them were just different. And another thing is that they were all stately. Mark Golding has nothing stately about him, right? And say what we will about all the other leaders, none of them saw themselves as being better than the other before. So the PNP leaders didn't see themselves as being better than the Labour Right leaders, and the Labour Right leaders didn't see themselves as being better than the PNP. Whenever there was a national function, they all turned out, whether they were in power or not, they all coalesced behind it, you know, to support it. And whenever there was a presentation in Parliament, again, I was watching a video of Seaga's presentation in Parliament, and the opposition all supported it and banged the desk. Under Mark Golding's PNP, it doesn't matter how good the presentation is. Nobody wants to laud it or applaud it, right? So everything about this leader of the PNP says that he's focused on him and what he wants for himself, right? Even within his own party, the mechanisms that are put in place is to ensure that he safeguard his own leadership, to say that he cannot be challenged 2 years before an election. All of the leaders before him, even the year of the election, they could be challenged. And they understood that this was part of the cut and thrust of the politics. It was part of the democratic process of the party, the internal mechanisms that took place. Mark Golding amalgamated all of the agencies before, right? He started the process when he was Minister of Justice, but he was very vocal in saying that he created the Integrity Commission, right? In truth and in fact, all it was an amalgamation and changing of certain laws and rules, and to ensure that his people were represented, right? For FinSAC, in as much as it ravaged Jamaica and raped Jamaica of its resources and benefited him, Mark Golding, he was so proud of it in the beginning that he went on a mountaintop and trumpeted that he created FinSAC, and when he was advisor to the Minister of Finance. So Mark Golding is self-centered and self-absorbed. It's not about Jamaica. It's about this colonial mindset that tells him that he's better than the dark-skinned people around, and they're as disposable or as useful as much as they serve him, and once he has no more use for them, then they should be disposed of. And last but not least, we noticed leading up to the last election of the PNP, how he brought in a lot of young people because he was being flogged in the media and on social media for not including a lot of young people as part of the process. He brought in a lot of them and gave them shadow ministries, spokesperson, responsible for this, spokesperson responsible for that. And as soon as election was over, then he dropped them like hot bread. And this is what Mark Golding does. He uses people to get where he's going, and as soon as he figured that he reaches where he wants to go and he has no more use for them, he unceremoniously dropped them by the wayside. So Mark Golding, the difference between he and the others is that the others still largely care for Jamaica and the other stake here. Mark Golding's only stake is to see what he can get out of the country. Mark Golding is building low-income houses in other Caribbean islands. Yes, we have an island that is ravaged by a hurricane that needs low-income houses to supply the demands here. And he never thought of doing anything in the very country that he lives in. How can we say that he cares about Jamaica? By what metric?
Very well said, sir. Thank you so much for tonight. Take care of yourself.
Thank you, sir. God bless you. Protecting Caroline.
Respect, Joshua.
All right, protecting. Here is your final question. Protecting Jamaica. We expect further pushback on this bill, or do you expect it to strike through? Do you expect any further obstruction?
The bill will pass, neighbor.
Yes.
My concern is not obstruction to the process to get it passed. As I have shared with you about 2-3 weeks now, that this term we're going to see the fight continue, and we're even going to see it picked up a notch, because they have more voices now to make noise, and this is all the PNP knows. So NaRRA will pass. NaRRA will come into effect.
Thank you, Lorna. Go ahead.
The building back, the reconstruction, or the building forward will get underway. But it is the constant nitpicking of the PNP that I have concerns about. I am sure along the way, just like Peter Bunting, before the election and even a little while before, said that he was a prophet. And what was his prophecy? Contracts will be given out and they will go to a Chinese company. I mean, as if that was anything. These companies come with the capacity to help us to improve our infrastructure. They come with the capacity to build that scale. Now, I know how the Jamaica Master Builders Association is set up. I know the current leader and I know the former leader, Carvel Stewart, and know the current leader, Mr. Monday. And I know that they are comrades. And as Aluna Samba said, that they make sure that these bodies speak on the PMP's behalf. Basically, in a nutshell, that's what you were saying.
Uh-huh.
I expect going forward, anything happens, because NaRRA is a new body. It is going to take some, doing for it to find its footing before it is fermented and cured and become fine wine. So along the way, there might be one and two challenges, and every step of the way, I can guarantee you, the PMP will say, see that when you tell us that this will go happen or that will go happen, it's going to be empty. Because at the end of the day, knowing Dr. Andrew Holness, he's not going to stop because he knows that what he's doing is the right thing to do, and he knows that how he's approaching it is the right way to approach it. And he knows that at the back end of all this, when the buildings are completed and all, that it will only redound to another victory for the JLP. You know what else, neighbor?
Yes.
I don't know if Jamaicans realize that there are only 2 planned cities in Jamaica, the entire Jamaica. As much as you see downtown are separated by blocks and so on, for the better part of it, especially the business district. Downtown Kingston was only inhabited because of the earthquake in Port Royal,
Uh-huh.
And so in 1692, the people drift further west or southwest, and they ended up in Kingston. That's how Kingston came about. It wasn't planned. The only planned part of Kingston is New Kingston. Who planned it? The JLP, Edward Seaga, planned it and commenced the building out of it. It wasn't completed in his time, but he planned that city. Let us talk about Portmore. In the 60s, again, Portmore was planned, and the execution of that plan had commenced. Who planned it? The JLP and Edward Seaga. The Prime Minister just spoke a few months back about the 15th parish. Jamaica and Jamaica's government has never gotten the opportunity to establish a new parish. The last set of parishes were established by colonial government.
Yes.
And so it is this government who is intent on establishing the 15th parish. And it is very instructive for us to note, neighbor, and I know a lot of people are learning some things here, that this NaRRA bill will be taking on some planned developments. We're going to at least get one city out of NaRRA, and we're going to get improved parishes out of NaRRA, infrastructure rally, and in other ways. However, and this is significant, and all that said,
You're breaking up. You're breaking up.
They've never done anything significant in Jamaica.
Uh-huh.
Oh my God. Oh jeez. At this very important juncture. You hearing me, neighbor?
Yes, coming back now.
Yes. So the PMP knows that NaRRA is going to push the Jamaica Labour Party again at the forefront of history, and they are going to do everything to stop it.
Uh-huh.
There is nothing sensible in Jamaica that the PMP can point to, and I mean it.
Uh-huh.
I mean it, and I always make reference to Highway 2000. It was planned by Edward Seaga in 1967. as the Spanish Town bypass to take traffic out of Spanish Town and Wolaba.
Yeah.
The same route. To Mandeville now. The plan was left there at the UDC that Edward Seaga created the UDC. I mean, but has Edward Seaga not created? And then the Transport Center for Halfway Tree, it was another design and plan by the JLP and Edward Seaga. So the PMP knows that what the NaRRA is going to do is to write them out of history completely, neighbor. And they do not want that because they know that politically it is not going to be good for them.
My understanding is that the minister is saying that if the bill goes to committee, it will take 2 years. Is that so protecting?
It was another design.
Huh?
The minister did not say that.
Oh, what did he say? Minister Morgan?
No. Yes, if it goes to the Joint Select Committee, then what they will do is drag it out. So it might take 2 years, 5 years. And that's what they want. That's why they're asking for a Joint Select Committee. The bill will go to committee next week, and we need to understand the different committees of the parliament. So after the debate is completed next week, Tuesday, then you have to go to the committee stage where you no longer have the speaker presiding over that. Now the speaker becomes chair of that committee to consider the bill clause by clause. And whichever clause, if they want to change a word, where they call amendment, or they want to change a line or a sentence, because in law, the letter of the law is important in law, which means the language of the law. So one word might want change because interchangeably words might mean different things, and it might make law appear differently. So there's a committee that will be assembled at the end of the debate on Tuesday to consider the bill clause by clause before the vote is done on the bill. So yes, that's a committee. But if it goes to a Joint Select Committee, which is what Mark Golin is asking for, once you commit to a Joint Select Committee and it goes there, them can draw it out all 5 years, which is the intention that they have. That's why they have been asking for that. Send it to a Joint Select Committee, and then every time you have a committee meeting, them have a problem. And you have to subject the bill to whatever issue them have and go through it again and go through it again and go through it again. And you might have 3, 4, 5 years and nothing gets done. The government knows this, and the government knows their tactics. And their tactic is to delay it because, again, it goes back to what I said earlier. They know that NaRRA and the infrastructures that NaRRA will be undertaking and completing is going to be the death knell of the PMP.
The opposition knows this.
They know this, neighbor. They know that once NaRRA is in full force, with especially this new speed that they will approach the development with. Once this is done, the PMP knows that the new Black River, where everything removed from the coastline and go further inland and a new city emerges, they know that in a 4 years' time, this will reach almost completion because everything now got done. But like the bridges, the roads, and the schools and all the other infrastructure, them can done in a 3 4 years, but them know that the rebuilding of a city is not going to be completed, and they know that politically they will not be able to stand up against this because of the government will do it, or the group of people will do all this newness in Jamaica. The people are going to reward for bringing Jamaica into the 21st and 22nd century, and they do not want it to happen. Yes, they're fighting. They know that they're fighting a losing battle, but today they are depending on the Gleaner to help them fight this battle. Like you mentioned the article that was written by such person. But I think it was yesterday, neighbor, that the Gleaner RGR group wrote to its employees and contractors that them cannot pay the pay bill this month.
Yes, well, they said that they were having some technical problems.
No. They can't pay the pay bill this month. Okay, so they're depending on these people where the staff is disgruntled, and we saw about August last year, at the first me ever see that, where the Gleaner staff stand up out in front of the Gleaner office down on North Street and a protest for them pay.
Wow.
They do not have no money, and they're depending on these people. And Mark Golding's best friend is in the Gleaner, destroying the Gleaner, trying to save the PMP. But the PMP cannot be saved. The PMP had 18 and a half years to save itself, and it didn't. Nobody can save them now. And so NaRRA people Don't listen to the PMP. NaRRA is going to be a part of the machinery that takes us into where we should have been for all the time that PMP spent in power. First world. And that is what the discussion needs to be surrounding now. When we talk about this, we need to consider Jamaica first world.
Wow.
And that may start talking about Jamaica as first world to the flipping world. Good night, listeners. Good night, neighbor.
Take care of yourself. Have a great day tomorrow, sir.
A good night over YouTube. Harry, bless up yourself.
Yeah, yep.
Honor protecting.
Okay, fantastic. Great addition to the team over here at Politics Plus. Good night to you, Scratch. Welcome to you, man. And good night to everyone. By the way, we're gonna get back over to YouTube and talk to Harry, because we need to get this all wrapped up now. But before we go there, Shafreen has sent me some information here. Shout out to Patreon supporters: POS Blueprint, H. Budu, and Caroline. You're watching on Patreon. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for supporting us on Patreon. Thank you so much. Well, Harry.
I'm here, neighbor. I was just going to the YouTube chat.
Yes. Harry, boy, I tell you, the fact of the matter, Harry, is that would you agree with me that Melissa gave the PNP its best chance in a decade? That this crisis should have exhausted the government, scratching, but NaRRA has taken the chance away. It must be sad for the comrades.
Well, neighbor, even with NaRRA, they were given opportunity as well, right? Because I'm not aware of any bill, right, that has ever been a home run on its first draft.
Yes.
And I think the People's National Party knows a thing or two about draft. You know, we're still drafting the plan from Melissa.
Yes.
But I digress. The truth about it is that despite their mishandling and the poor tone and the rhetorics and the performance throughout Melissa, and so throughout and post Melissa, they were still able to get an opportunity like this to say, okay, let us look at how we can help the people, because that is really the saving grace for the People's Party, you know. To get in the good books of the people again, it will take some time. We'll always say that it's going to take some time. You don't hurt people and can come back and in a 1 day, 2 day, 3 years, 4 years kind of settings and think you can just win them over again. Trust is a process, a tedious one, which takes time to build again. And especially with what they achieved in a negative light in destroying this country that had so much potential and hurt so many generations, they have a longer time to recover from any government in Jamaica's history under any administration. And rather than putting the work from now and hoping that one day the people may see them as viable options again, because the people see that, okay, they're not just opposing for opposing's sake this time. They see us for who we are, not as test subjects, as Dr. Andre Hahn put it, right? They're now showing the people that they value them, the very least, to at least want Jamaica to recover. And they're missing the mark on this one again. They're fluffing the lines every single time. Maybe if it was a race, them get strike out of our side every single time. This isn't a bill where you want to go against it in a manner where it's going to pass regardless, right? Whether you like it or not, as an opposition, it will be passed eventually. What you want to do now is to ensure that you are a vital part in restructuring and coining this bill. It's not your idea, but you can brag to say you were a part of its execution And the people of Jamaica will look at it to say, okay, we saw where you were willing to put the people first and put your politics aside. And they failed to do that.
Yeah.
And as it continues, it's going to get worse, neighbor. I don't think they understand holistically as to what is required of them to take the next step to be viable. And even if there's few who understand it, I think they don't know how to change their habits. I think that is what is hurting them the most. And I believe it was Joshua John who spoke regarding as to what, Jamaica may look like with NaRRA and what it may achieve. And I love the aspect of a smart city because I love to debunk the narrative around it, what they push to say a smart city looks like. Maybe a smart city, did you know that New Kingston is one of the first smart cities that they were looking to structure?
Oh.
And actively as early as there was a project with JPS as early as 2023. So that was just a few years ago, right?
Uh-huh.
How they were building it out. And what I want people to understand, the outcome of NaRRA is, it means a higher standard of living. What that looks like, it means not wasting 2 hours every morning to try and traverse to work and 2 hours from work. Because you will have an improved transportation system, because the more information you can collect, this is how a smart city works. The more information you can get from the habits of a people, from the how people operate, the peak hours and so on, you can improve your traffic system. And Jamaica has a transportation system, neighbor, and it was brewing from the mid-90s. And now we're seeing where it has peaked. So to improve our transport system, you do that. We're seeing it with the cameras being set up. We can simply go on a link. I believe it's streamed through YouTube. You can look and see in Montego Bay Square. You can see Mullines Road. For those who watch nationwide on YouTube every morning, there's a part that they go through and tell you about the traffic level. That's an aspect of a smart city that even help those who are traversing in the corporate area to know what time to potentially leave or to expect what type of traffic. That is movements into smart cities. So don't let people corrupt your mind and speaking about the sign of beast and all that. No, smart city look like our farmers in St. Elizabeth. We finally understand the water aspect of things, how to get them water in drought, how to create a system to ensure that they can have irrigation throughout, so we have better production for our farmers. It is even, we can go a step further, neighbor. We're in the Atlantic region, means we're going to get hurricanes. Building better, building forward, having a smart city means you can check weather temperatures, you can check sea levels, you can predict some things and have an understanding as to the strength of something that would come. So we don't have to rely on the meteorological center alone, because you can have these things in different areas, and it helps you to understand from a local standpoint. It helps you to fight crime. If somebody robs somewhere and them shot through two stoplight, there are cameras there, so the police know what areas to go and what angles to cut off, right?
Yeah.
People need to understand, neighbor. Go ahead.
I see where you say that we should push for the salary cut.
Of course, neighbor. We're not getting value for money. We're really not.
Yes. Is that a joke? Is that a joke, Harry?
Neighbor, it is dead ass serious, because you get a level of pay based on, and people need to understand this. You're working somewhere, you don't get paid just on your production, right? Your production is really translated into the value you add to something.
Yes.
So when you're at your workplace, it is not just the hours that you do in the day that you get paid. It is the impact of that productive period that you give, whether it's a service, whether it's a good or goods that you produce, and that turns the business into profits. And from that profitability you earn. It is no different with government. This opposition is not giving us anything. In fact, it's a disrespect to the people who put them there, because of them people, they tax money them are burn too, and I just mine and yours, neighbor. But it is taking the piss at those people that put them there, and they're not doing the job that they're being paid for. So them just go sit down and go 1 and 2 meeting every week or every 2 weeks, spend 4 hours there. Most times they're not even do a full day's work. And a full day's work is what, 8-9 hours. Right? And member of parliaments and so on are getting 10 million, 12 million, or as high as $15 million. To do what?
Yeah.
To go over there. Neighbor, I see one thing with I don't even want to call him name, but a member of parliament over there getting famous on TikTok. For Christ's sake, man, you're a lawyer, have some dignity. Have some decorum about yourself. You're a member, you're a legislator.
Him soon go fully nude.
Probably.
Yeah.
Right? I have nothing against if you want to do something in your private and what, but understand this.
Yes.
You are in a specific role that demands a level of decorum.
Absolutely.
And you should stick to it or you leave. If you cannot commit to it, leave.
Yes,
sir. I don't see no other politician and let me put it the right way. I don't see any legislator, neighbor, anywhere in the world, because I go as far as studying Australia. I don't see anybody operating this manner because they know what comes with the role. Neighbor, in fact, look at where I work. In a way, even in my private domain, right? I'm not on the work premises or whatever, and I operate in a way and something contributes. So it's a reflection on the company. I can be removed because of that.
Yes.
And I don't want it to be any different here. So we need to demand money now pay, and $8 million and $6 million again. We are looking for big money and pay. I don't care who want about inflation. Put inflation aside, because if inflation go aside, neighbor, if anybody, and I challenge anybody here, getting that salary, you don't care about inflation because you're comfortable with that amount, right? So I don't want to see that argument. But you are put in a position, man. Act in the role until you no longer want it. And if you have behaviors contrary to it, and you want to continue those behaviors, then you rescind, you resign, you leave. Let somebody else who will represent the right way, who will conduct him or herself properly and represent the nation. Maybe them over there add to a stigma thing on TikTok. Jamaica, if you type Jamaica TikTok, neighbor, it is not what you want to see from Jamaica. It's one of the worst set of scenes, right? And people like that who are legislators are one of the highest level in our country, right? Over there, come on, neighbor, it rubs me wrong, man.
Oh boy, I hear it in your voice, Harry. But guess what? We have to put a wrap on the show tonight. What a fantastic week this has been. What a fantastic week this has been. We're going to be here on Sunday. We're going to be here on Sunday playing some nice gospel for you. As a matter of fact, I may just jump on tomorrow and have a chat with you. I may surprise you and jump on tomorrow and just have a chat with you. All right, Blueberry, I may do that. Dr. Shaba, time God bless. By the way, let me go over to YouTube and see what they're talking about over there. Let me go to YouTube. I see, wow, Gem U6R. Hi, neighbor. It feels good over here. Well, welcome. The Moose, blessings family. Yes, great. It was a bad decision, and Seaga told them so. KC, YouTube. We're on YouTube now. This is fantastic. What a lot of comments over here. Yes, it's Mr. Perkins. Who is that? Who's Mr. Perkins? Oh, the laugh. Shafreen, how you doing? Can you help me out here? Let me understand what is happening. Hi, Shafreen. How are you?
I am well, thank you, neighbor, for asking.
How is the YouTube channel doing? What a lot of comments here. I can't read all of them.
Yes, so we have some super chats. I'm just gonna read those.
Yes,
So
super
here
chats.
is-
What are those super chats now?
Okay, so super chats are where you have viewers pay.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes, so they pay to send their comment and their comments get highlighted, or they send like a sticker.
Oh,
Um, yes, and it's in support of the show.
lovely. Well, want to thank those in particular. That's very nice. Let's hear from hear what they have to say. And yeah, what's their names?
So KC, he sent $20 US and said excellent presentation. Thank you, KC.
Well, Casey, what Casey, you're wonderful. Thank you so much, Casey. Uh-huh.
Yes. And then the moderator sent some super stickers.
You mean Caroline?
The other one.
Well, thank you, the moderator. Oh, whoever the other one.
Yes.
All right, great. Lovely.
Yes. Yeah, so thank you, YouTube. You guys are awesome. Awesome crowd. You know, and we
How many
really
people you have? How
appreciate
many people you have on YouTube there now?
235.
More people than are on TikTok?
Yes.
You have more people watching YouTube than you have watching TikTok?
Yes.
Is what you saying to me? This is Harry, you hear that? Is you go over there will cause that, you know.
Boy, neighbor them say them they don't want to see me over, you know.
Yes.
He brought his handsome self
Yes.
over here to show off.
Wow.
Neighbor, just wait until the Raspberry voice come in.
You mean Mr. Scratch? Oh, Scratchy, they want you over YouTube.
Yeah, man. So the ladies, them man. You may not have any ladies left over TikTok, you know.
Okay. So those are the we have any super chats to read, Sheffreen?
I read them already.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for that. The man have me stuck on his channel, KC. Oh, you are stuck here. Well, thank you, KC. Well, guess what? With this type of support, bless up neighbor rights and friends. With travel, I think the JP needs to maintain a steady long-term campaign around the NaRRA projects over the next 4 years. If they want the public to understand and support the agenda, they'll have to invest. I agree that there has to be some public relations around this. The inconsistent messaging and proper advertising, he's saying. YouTube family, drop a 1 in the chat if you are listening. Okay, that's Harold. Harold, okay, great. Music freak. It's also the colonial mindset of the PNP comrades who see him as a white savior. They have a slave mentality. All right, music freak. All right. In my view, Edward Seaga doesn't get enough credit for the role he played in shaping Jamaica. Yes, that's true. From my perspective, Mark Golding sometimes comes across as disconnected from the everyday struggles people face. That's the impression I get, even if others may see it differently. Reith Travel is saying that again. Violet Facey, very interesting conversation. Excellent panelist. Thank you, Violet. Kathy B, I could listen to this man talk all night. All interesting truths. Thank you, Kathy. Violet Facey, in the 90s, we never had a voice. Jamaica was like a communist country. Wow. KC said, let's go. Andrew, we are ready. What you ready for, KC? Next election? It's too early. All right, this man have me stuck. Okay, so we love all the comments here. Too many to read. Hundreds of comments over on YouTube. And over here on TikTok, well, you know that I can't read these messages because they move so fast. Harry, close us out. Conversations that matter.
You know, I always have to pick up the YouTubers, neighbor. You know, of course, I see one of our YouTubers saying, you know, YouTube is the place to be. But TikTokers, you know, you can always stay with neighbor over on that side. But for YouTubers, you know, it's great to have you guys seeing the numbers improving. Of course, you know, each and every night, I said, tell a friend to tell a friend, and have that friend tell a friend. Like, share, and subscribe. of course, you will have the snippets from the program to re-listen after tonight. Give it a few hours and you'll see us again if you want to listen to the program. If you miss anything, it will be there tonight and even tomorrow. And we'll always be on YouTube as long as we're around for you to listen. So if you have any like a discussion and you need to drop up something from neighbor, just know it's right there. Another beautiful program, neighbor. Beautiful people. The neighbor rights are spreading their wings, you know. I think we're challenging a lot of people.
By the way, Harry, last night program is we have over 5,000 views on YouTube for that one.
Already. Look at that. And YouTubers, I want, and those who are listening, please like and share the program regardless, you know, to see get so much views and so on. Subscribe to it. You know, you get your notifications every time we on air. And of course, you know, you can always be a part of the family each step of the way. Big things are coming as well. I'll leave that up to Shefreen and Neighbor to let you guys know. But another beautiful program, a wonderful night, another success. And of course, you know, this is a politics network where conversation matters as we have these conversations to shape each and every one, shape Jamaica, land we love.
Fantastic. I'm going to jump over to TikTok and talk to the moderator. Talk to her for me there, Harry.
We have Caroline over on TikTok as moderator?
Yes.
You hear the laugh, neighbor, so let me in trouble, you know.
You know, that's why I say, that's why you answer, you go ahead and talk to her, sir. I need to go to the beach now, night beach.
Night, Caroline. I haven't left you stranded, you know. I left you with neighbor there. We're sharing the load.
I am not lonely at all over here. I have protected Jamaica and neighbor.
Oh, well.
See? Powerful men. Look at that.
Yes.
You know, strong men. So I'm doing just fine, but thanks for asking.
But you know, I'll always extend a hand, Caroline. You know, can always come over. YouTube family, we will love you. But one other thing, neighbor, for the TikTokers, remember we're going live on YouTube Monday. This is where we will be on Monday coming.
Right.
All right. So go ahead, Caroline.
That's for the evening show.
For the evening show, right? The talk show during the day will be still on TikTok, I believe.
Right. Yes.
Okay. So TikTok, now that we're migrating, leave you know. Don't forget that we're still going to be on all platforms. But of course, I think I love YouTube, neighbor. It just look great. The quality, neighbor. Oh God, man. We'll probably have to go loan Shefreen to RJR to help them and thing, man. No, man.
Isn't she fantastic? Bless her.
Neighbor. Oh God, man. I just love it. And we're getting better and better. And of course, you know, Caroline, Minister of Mediation and Moderation.
Yes, why I see a little video shared in the chat earlier. Did you see it?
No,
I'm not going to disclose anything. I'm smart to that.
Changes are coming, neighbor. Changes are coming.
Yes. But I feel so proud. I feel so proud of my team and what we have been able to do so far. And we're only 1 year old now, Harry. Just a little toddler, eh?
Yeah, I mean to do what we're doing with the resources we have, neighbor, is it's amazing. It is nothing short of being astonishing. And this is why, you know, if we're doing it at this level currently, imagine, you know, as things get better and we get more people reach out to a wider span and we grow, imagine the level of production that we'll have. And the conversations will not just be conversations that matter, but conversations that transform Jamaica even greater.
To be frank, Harry, the conversations we have here are the ones that matter, and that's just the truth, eh?
Definitely, it's hard hitting. It is undiluted facts and truth, neighbor. And who don't like it, them have a saying, so who not like it, bite it. That's exactly where it is. It just, these are things that people need to hear. People are yearning, but understand where we're coming from is that we are feeding the people of Jamaica through conversations that will change their lives, change their thinking, right?
Yeah.
It gives a renewal of the mind. The Bible speaks of that, neighbor, and that is what we're using to transform Jamaica as patriots of Jamaica.
Yeah. Yeah. Caroline. Hello.
Yes, neighbor. Sorry about that.
I noticed that Joshua is a little offended that you left him out. Why?
I don't think he's offended, but he was just seeking clarity, neighbor. But I have given him all the assurance he needs.
That he is right next to you also.
Of course, he'll be moving to YouTube with me.
Okay, all right. We may surprise our callers and our people and come on tomorrow, Caroline.
Oh.
Okay, we see what happens. All right. Shafreen.
Yes, so YouTube, thank you for watching. And if you have not subscribed already, please do hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and so that you'll get notified every time when we go live or anytime when we upload new content. Thank you very much for being awesome audiences. We'll see you again next time. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, YouTube. Take care of yourself. Take care, Harry. Bye-bye.